they? Where are they? How can I relax? You just killed my neighbor. You caught your butter in the face. You killed my neighbor. How do you show up to work every day? How the do you do this every day? You're killing my neighbors. You're stealing my neighbors. What the man?
Shalom, shalom, shalom. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, which is to say in the Paleo-Hebrew, Yahweh, which is the name of our Heavenly Father, meaning He is, and that is who the world ignorantly calls God. Bahashem, which means in the name, Yahweh Shai, which means He is our salvation, and that is who the world also ignorantly calls Jesus, a so-called black man, who, by the way, only came for the Israelites, all right? Now, the two clips that you saw were of two separate incidents, but they're going to blend or merge in together when all hell breaks loose, okay? Because the first clip you saw was of ICE fatally unaliving someone and refusing to accept help from a doctor that was on the scene rather than let her perish, okay? Saying that we have our own medics that are on the way, all right? And then the second clip was a clip of NYC police uniforms that were found on the streets, okay? Now, you may be asking yourself, what does these two have to do with each other? And I'm going to tell you, okay? First of all, we're in the times of deception. So we must have our head on a swivel, as I stated earlier this morning in the live that I did, spiritually sleepwalking. Wake up. Let the Lord guide your paths, okay? Because if you're out here spiritually sleepwalking, you can easily be scooped up or taken advantage of, or dare I even say unalive, okay? Because why? You're going to believe everything that you see that's being put right in front of you, all right? You may think that an NYC officer, because he has on a uniform, is a NYC officer, all right? Now, that can be applied to ICE or the National Guards, okay? So you have to actually keep your head on a swivel, especially in these times that we are in and entering now, okay? As it says in Matthew, the 24th chapter, the 12th verse, the love of many shall wax cold, okay? So people are going to be doing whatever and whenever they want to do things to what? Get their fix, get something to get by on, or whatever, all right? So back to the point, all right? The point is that just because someone is dressed in the appropriate apparel doesn't mean that they mean you no harm, okay? Because how and where did those uniforms from NYC get on the streets like that, okay? You don't think a few people have now taken some of those uniforms and could be put into place for a potential Black Swan event or a false flag or something along that matter, okay? Now, we see the incident that took place in the first video, and now they're requiring for National Guards to be sent there to that city, all right? And then we know what's happening in Minnesota with the so-called alleged, child care fraud, So now they're going to send National Guards to that city, okay? So with the advent of these National Guards being deployed more and more, you're not going to know who is who, okay? Because they're saturating or overpopulating these towns and cities and states with National Guards. And if they're so negligent as in to leave a box of uniforms of NYC laying around for anyone to pick up, then who's to say that they can't get a hold to some National Guard uniforms or ICE, okay? Because they cover their faces so you don't see them. So now you just have to go by what they tell you, okay? And if you refuse because they don't want to show you identity or give you their badge number or whatever, they could call bullcrap and mow you down in the street, all right? And they can operate under what's called impunity, all right? It's called impunity, and we're going to look up that word, Lord willing, all right? Because this is the times that we're rolling in. And see, we told you long time ago under the executive order, DOD executive order 5240-1, that they were going to start using lethal ammo, okay? Now here it is, we seeing it, all right? For what? Crowd control, all right? Now these National Guards are being deployed in these cities strategically, albeit by, false flags and what have you, like alleged child care fraud. But now they're going to use what? Live ammo on you, all right? And they're going to move around with impunity, all right? So let's just look at some of these stories right here. It says 2,000 federal agents deploying to Minneapolis in immigration. And this is the times that we're entering into, okay? Where if the Lord isn't dealing with you, once this door of mercy is shut and you don't receive that salvation or that protection, you're going to be taken out by any way necessary. Famine, pestilence, sword, just to name a few. Teeth of wild beasts. All right? So this is the time that we need to really lock in and get closer and draw closer to our powers. Okay? Yahweh, through his only begotten son, Yahushua. So it says the Trump administration has begun a massive deployment of hundreds of Department of Homeland Security agents to the Twin Cities areas as it escalates its federal crackdown amid a widening fraud scandal in Minnesota. Multiple law enforcement officials familiar with the plan told CBS News. It says the crackdown could involve roughly 2,000 agents, okay? And if there's even a slight resemblance of what we saw in NYC with boxes of uniforms being readily available to whoever want to take them, then guess what? National Guards is no difference. They can have National Guard uniforms ditched away somewhere behind a building for what they call crisis actors or agents or provocateurs to incite and get a riot going to send this place into all-out civil unrest. See? So this is why we got to have our head on the swivel. Ephesians 5:15. All right? Redeeming the times. All right? See then that you walk circumspectly. All right? It says the crackdown could involve roughly 2,000 agents and officers from Immigration and Custom Enforcement, Deportation Branch, and Homeland Security investigations. The agency investigated armed tasks with fighting transnational crimes, the official said. They request, what's this word? I'm going to attempt to say it. Anonymity to discuss operations that have not been publicly announced, okay? So this is all just in the first month of their so-called new year, all right? Let's go back and see that other story, okay? This is Walsh gives order to prepare National Guard after ICE officer fatally unalives a woman. That goes back to the first video we saw, okay? So we see they getting ready to deploy more National Guards, all right? Whether these are crisis actors, whether these are agents, provocateurs, you don't want to get yourself caught up in this. So that's why we telling our people, you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, the biblical Israelites, to do what? To repent and turn back to our powers while we still have time. Let's check out this story right here. What was that at? It says, Walz gives order to prepare National Guard after ICE officer fatally shoots woman in Minneapolis, okay? And we know what happened the last time something like this happened in Minneapolis, all right, with the George Floyd. Hey, we saw complete and utter, mayhem right before, if I'm not mistaken, they unleashed a pestilence throughout the whole land, okay? So could something else be coming down the pipe that they're getting ready to set the stage for to cause civil unrest and then allow this pestilence, if you get what I'm saying, that C-2020 to spread and cause the place to be in complete and utter lockdowns? We don't know, but we have to keep our head on the swivel because why? History has a tendency of repeating itself, especially when you have wicked rulers in play. So it says, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz says the state doesn't need any further help from federal government after federal officials reported a U.S. Immigration and Customs enforcement officer fatally shot or pew a woman Wednesday morning, okay, in South Minneapolis. To Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, you've done enough, Walz said at a news conference hours after the pew. It happened at 34th Street and Portland Avenue, leading to a tense standoff between a federal and local law enforcement and protesters, right? And they're finna start using more and more live ammo as we get close, and they're gonna have impunity. As we gotta remember to look up that word. So it says, leading to a tense standoff between federal and local law enforcement and protesters. Minneapolis officials said the victim is a 37-year-old woman. U.S. Senator Tina Smith described her as a U.S. citizen in a social media post, okay? So they even saying she's a U.S. citizen, okay? So the stage is being set for whatever's coming, civil unrest and way much more, all right? A famine, pestilence, and it's going to get crazy out here, all right? That's why we're seeking the Lord now while he may be found, okay? Now let's look up this word impunity.
Impunity.
It goes into impunity is the state of being exempt from punishment, harm, or negative consequences for one's action. These guards, they're moving with impunity because why? They're not going to answer for any of their crimes, because they're going to be deemed in the right because they're under the Constitution and they're serving the United States of America. All right. So all someone has to do is get a hold to some of those uniforms, and guess what? They can move with impunity because a lot of these ICE agencies, they're covering up their faces. Okay. So what's somebody going to say? I saw an ICE agent mow somebody down in the middle of the street. Hey, there's no verification or anyone to verify that other than your word and a camera that you can't really see that person's face, okay? So these are the times that we're moving in and getting ready to really embrace, and we need our powers to fight on our behalf because we don't stand a chance, man. As it says, this devil has but a short time, so he's coming with great wrath, all right? It says, often seen in legal or political contexts where perpetrators of crimes, especially human rights violations, escape justice due to weak legal system. And it's not weak legal systems. It's because these people are given the carte blanche through these orders and, such as Executive Order DOD 52, 40-1, to do whatever they want, okay? Examples include regimes avoiding prosecution for war crimes, individuals operating beyond the law, or powerful groups avoiding accountability, which undermines justice and the rule of law, particularly in areas like human rights. All right? And if they don't see you as a U.S. citizen, they're going to be justified in using their lethal force against you. All right? And eventually, if you don't get that chip within inside you, you won't have sovereign rights to this land because you're going to be undocumented. Okay? They can't verify you because you don't have the proper credentials that being on that charagma. All right? It goes into examples of impunity. Government officials, leaders of security forces accused of torture, extrajudicial unaliving, or banned weapons, but who are not held accountable. These are these ICE officers, these National Guards, these police officers, and the list goes on and on. Okay? So this is where we at with it. Okay? Get right while you still have time, because these officers are moving with impunity. Now let's look up this DOD. So I want to draw your attention to this right here, which is the DOD that I was speaking of. It's a directive, 5240-1. And as we can see highlighted right here, it says assistance in responding with assets with potential for lethality or any situation in which is reasonably forcible that providing the request assistance may involve the use of force that is likely to result in lethal force, including unalive or serious bodily injury. All right. So this was the executive order or the directive that I was speaking on. Okay. And this was back in September of 2024 that they, revised this executive order to now that the, what do you call it? The civil police and military can use lethal force now. Okay. As you can see. All right, under the revised DOD Directive 5240 period 01 that was revised in September of 2024, they can use lethal force. Okay. Now they saying they can't, but guess what? It's going to speak otherwise. All right. As we can see. So it's getting ready to go down in a major way here in Babylon the Great, all right? And they've been exposed. They've been made out. So if you can't see this, guess what? That means the Lord isn't dealing with you, all right? And you got to pray that he opens your heart, your mind, your eyes, and your ears so you can see this. Now let's get a few precepts. This is Ephesians 5, and let's start at verse 14. It says, wherefore he saith, awake thou that sleepest. See? Because why? We were once in the valley of dry bones, just out here asleep, sleepwalking spiritually. All right. It says, and arise from the dead, and the anointed Hamashiach Yahushua shall give thee light. See, now we got the light cut on, which is the spirit, the Holy Spirit. And we can see these things and see how this devil is set into play for him to get ready to come in and roll in, as it says, Isaiah 59 and verse 19, okay? Because once these devils are here, they're not going to look to pack up and leave. They're looking to set up shop, all right? And under this new regime or empire spearheaded by Donald J. Trump, they're not going anywhere until this new world order is implemented, all right? And they're putting the finished touches on it, all right? And part of those finished touches involve what's the word I'm looking for? part of those finished touches involve a digital security and a surveillance, okay? And how are they going to surveil you? By having troops on the ground, they already got the cameras, what they call Big Brother, watching you. They already got everything watching you from when you leave out your door to probably inside of your house through your phones and what have you. So they already got the surveillance already put pretty much to a T, but now they want to put the presence of these National Guards, which we know eventually martial law has to come to the forefront, all right? And this is where we at with it, okay? We in the age of surveillance, all right, where they're going to put in troops in every city, town, especially in these major cities and towns, man. All right, because they're going to watch and enforce these draconian laws. All right? Try going into a store without that chip and see what happened to your ass, man. You might not even get a warning, okay? They might just hit you right on the spot. Pop! And then they got robots that come and you know, take away, or they had a short clip of a robot eating a unalive corpse, okay? So they may just have you laid out on the street, or they may have one of these robots come and scoop you up and take you out somewhere and bury you or incinerate you, okay? This is the times that we want. These are the times that we are warning our people that we're getting ready to go into, all right? Ain't no 2019 and before America. After what happened in 2020, things are only going to escalate fast, quick, and in a hurry. And if you don't hurry up and get right with the Lord while you still got time, you're going to be left out there to what? Sleepwalk. So let's read it again, Ephesians 5:14. Wherefore he saith, awake thou that sleepest. That's the problem with our people, man. They like to push things off until the last minute. They like to sleep. All right, here it is. They doing everything else in the physical world that they're supposed to be doing. But when it comes to the spirit, getting right with Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, they want to continue to put it off. That's why it says Ecclesiasticus or Sirach in the Apocrypha, chapter 5 and verse 7, make no tarrying to turn to the Lord. Stop putting it off, man. Because you don't know. You sleepwalking out here. All right? And ain't nothing beneficial ever came from somebody sleepwalking. Other than they ran into a wall, they walked out into the street, got hit by a car, or what have you, or they fell asleep behind the wheel, and that was the end. So it says, awake thou that sleepest, all right? Your time is running out, man. Your time to wake up and get out of this, realm of, blitz is coming to an end. See, most of our people, they're operating in that realm of blitz. They don't know what the hell's going on, okay? As long as they can get their paycheck every Friday, go out, have a good time, they are oblivious to the world around them, man. Meanwhile, Esau Edom is setting the stage, okay? So it says, awake thou that sleepest. Wake your ass up spiritually and see what this damn devil is doing, man. The Lord has put his servants, the prophets, to give you the warning. They're blowing the horn around the clock because why? This is the last time. See, you ain't going to have no cloak for your sins this time because why? There's too much information that's going out right now. That's why this devil is getting ready to come down with that great wrath because he's getting exposed. So he has to get ready to shut this whole operation down. Internet, stores, everything. And then when he comes back online, the only way you're going to be able to use it is if you take that charagma, that RFID microchip. So it says, awake thou that sleepest and arise from the dead, and the anointed shall give thee light. See? So Yahweh Shai is the only one that can give us this light that we need to see what the devil is getting ready to come down at. Okay? Because you can't expect so-called Christianity to tell you what the hell's going on. They lost. You can't expect Islam to tell you what's going on. They lost. All right? You can't expect no one other than Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, and the servants of prophets that they have set up to tell you what's going on than the men of the Lord. All right? Because if you're looking for answers and solutions on your own or through other means of religions or what have you, you're asleep. You're sleepwalking. You can't get this truth outside of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai and the men that he set up. Okay? Because he did set up men in these last days, whether you want to accept it or not. Okay? That's sounding the alarm. That's letting the people know what's coming and how to get prepared and get themselves right. It says, verse 15, see then that you walk circumspectly. See? You're supposed to have your head, on a swivel. You're supposed to be watching and looking for these type of things to come. All right? If you just thinking everything is peachy and fine and, it ain't involving me, I don't see the need to worry about these things. That's 10 states away from where I'm at. You're crazy and you're asleep. All right? This thing is coming to try the whole earth, as it says in Revelation 3 and 10. The whole earth will be tried, the hour of temptation. So it says, see then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise. Why? Redeeming the time. Matthew 24 and 12. The love of many shall wax cold. These are the times that we in, where people ain't going to give a damn, man. They're not going to give a damn. It's going to be a dog-eat-dog world. Literally. People going to be out here eating damn dogs, man. Because they can't find something to eat. It's going to be wild. And we tell you before it comes to get right with the Lord so he can show you favor and you don't have to be in those positions or predicaments to do such. It says, see then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. The love of many shall wax cold. These are the days that we in. If you can't see it, just wait. It says, Matthew 24 and 12, and because iniquity, sin on top of sin, shall abound. People don't have the fear of the Lord. That's why we see the condition that the world is in, especially Babylon the Great, which is why you see it deteriorate, all right before our very own eyes, all right? And it's a beautiful thing to those that are in the truth because we understand we need this to happen in order for us to get up out of here, all right? It says, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. People ain't going to be caring, man. That dog-eat-dog world is going to be something serious out here, man. People ain't going to care if you got a family. I just need to get that. Can you give me that food? I got 2 babies at home. So, that ain't my problem. It's going to be wild out here, man. People ain't going to give a damn. See that 1950s, look out for your neighbor, 60s, 70s? That spirit is out the window, man. We coming into a time where, hey, it's get it how you live, man. All right? It's get it by all means necessary. Because that famine is going to be, it might not even be first come, first serve. It might be whoever got the most, whatever. It's called survival of the fittest. I got bigger guns. I got bigger ammo. I got bigger this. I take it. Okay? Who you going to call? All emergency numbers have been suspended. You can't call 911. You can't call nobody. All right? And if you do, you risk the chance of someone showing up that ain't even a real, certified officer. Okay? Because why? They done found boxes of NYCD uniforms. So here you waving down someone that you think is an officer, and all the while, they are imposter and they see what you got and now they going to take it. Okay? So this is why we got to keep our head on the swivel. See that we walking circumspectly. All right? Matter of fact, let's go back to that word circumspectly and then we'll close out.
Strong's G 199. Akribos. Akribos.
The root word is
Strong's G 196. Akribase. Akribase.
it goes into exact, careful, of the strictest sect, the most precise and rigorous in interpreting the Mosaic law and observing even the more minute precepts of the law and tradition. Okay, let's go back to the original one. It says exactly, accurately, diligently. Okay, see then that you walk circumspectly, diligently. All right, you gotta be watching. Okay, in the world and in the truth. Okay, you gotta measure. You gotta line these things up with current events because the Bible speaks of what's going on. See, if you can't line up what's going on in the world with what's going on with the Bible, you're not being circumspect. If you're just thinking that everything is happening by happenstance. No, everything is happening according to prophecy. And if you can't see it, then I feel sorry for you. Okay, not really. But hey, somebody gotta be the 2/3. All right, we just praying that it's not us. All right, because this devil is gonna roll in. All right, Isaiah 59:19. This devil is getting ready to come in. 2,000 National Guards. That's a flood. I know I said that was the last precept, but would a platoon as much as 2,000 troops? That's a flood, man. 2,000. This is Isaiah 59 and verse 19. It says, so shall they fear the name of Yahweh from the west and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy, if you think that these officers, these agents is your friend, just wait till when all services are suspended, okay? Just wait. Flag them down, wave them down, call them to your house, whatever. You're going to see, all right? You're going to see just how friendly they are, okay? It says, so shall they fear the name of Yahweh from the west and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the spirit of Yahweh shall lift up a standard against him, right? And that spirit that's going to be lifted up is to the elect only. All right, you 2/3, you're going to have to get the full brunt of it. All right, however that looks, whether they take you to a detention center, whether they mow you down right there in your living room, whatever it is, you're going to get the full brunt of it. All right, the elect, the Lord is going to give them that spirit. All right, lift up that standard. All right, some of us, Lord willing, we part of that number, are going to receive spiritual powers. All right, so we just got to get prepared and get ready for the times that we coming into. All right, this is why we getting ourselves right. All right, in this grace period, this is what we're supposed to be doing under grace and mercy, getting ourselves right with the Lord, not using it to abuse it. Okay, so let's go to 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 8. It reads, be sober. See, you got our people out here sleepwalking spiritually. Don't know what the hell is getting ready to go down. They ain't measuring the time diligently. They're not seeing that they walk them circumspectly. They don't have nothing going on outside of what their everyday normal life entails, whether that's going to work, going to the gym, going to the bar, whatever. They don't have nothing going on besides that. So when all hell breaks loose, they're going to be lost in the sauce. So it says, be sober, be vigilant. See, we counting the days. We watching the times. Okay, we're measuring the time diligently as we're commanded to. It says, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. Right. Just look what's coming down the pike at the end of this month. Round 2, potentially. Lord willing, Abarathasar, Father will. All right. So, hey, it'll be a blessing if things get kick-started and jump off in the beginning of the year so that it can just draw out throughout the rest of the year and more agony and pain and punishment can come and we can get the hell up out of here. Okay. Plus, Elon Musk is looking to ramp up the production of his Neuralink brain chips for this year. So we know something got to be coming around the corner, but we got to walk circumspectly, all right? Do our due diligently, all right? And continue to wait on the Lord. So be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour, all right? So with that being said, pray someone was edified through this lesson. And until the next time, if it be the Lord's will, stay strong, stay in the faith. We're almost home. Shalom. Peace.